Hey kids, I'm Not Salmonella, and today we're talking about sound design. It has been said that the best sound design is the one that fades into the background, that immerses the viewer into the world of the movie, the one that audiences can't even... The best sound design is the one the audience doesn't even know... It's the one that... Monster noises. Unlike a lot of other areas of audio post-production, monster sound design is not the time to be shy, and if done right, can end up being the highlight of the movie. Movie monsters are often similar or quite different from modern living creatures. Either way, they have quite a bit of compensation needed as their modern counterparts make impressive sounds like this. Sound engineers have the daunting mission of creating even more interesting sounds than this. Today, we're going to be looking at a few different movie series to talk about several different approaches one can take when creating vocalizations for these creatures. Let's travel back in time before we humans discovered the concept of color, the year of 1954. This was the year of the first Godzilla movie. Back then, sound designers had the intimidating task of creating a sound for a creature taller than most buildings. They tried using animal sounds like lions, tigers, and bears, but none gave the feeling that they were going for. Eventually, a composer named Akira... I think it would be more offensive to him if I had tried to pronounce his last name, gave the idea of using musical instruments for the sound. They eventually took a double bass, got some rubber gloves, dipped them in pine tar resin, and rubbed the ever-loving crap out of the strings. If that breaks your heart, just remember that Mythbusters lit a piano on fire because they wanted to know if it would explode. Eventually the sound evolved for the 2014 version, and to create that sound, they used... Well, screw that section, I guess. Speaking of big ol' reptilian creatures that don't exist, my parents made the very responsible decision when I was 3 years old to show me Jurassic Park. That turned out good enough, but my whole life I've been obsessed with monster noises thanks to this movie. Starting off with the most iconic of the lot, the Tyrannosaurus Rex is made up of two animals that you'll quickly find most large monster vocalizations are made up of: crocodile and lion.
This is the line which I used for the attack. I tried not to use this, but I had to.
However, neither of these is responsible for the most iconic part of the roar. This was evidently a baby elephant of all things, that just happened to make an extremely strange noise that the keepers of the animals claimed they had never heard it make before. This sound is so iconic that lazier sound designers will literally just steal it whether it makes sense for the animal or not. Avatar bad. Next is the Velociraptor, which contains few sounds you might expect like a dolphin and a bird, but there's also two that are a little more unexpected. The first is just some dude making weird noises into a microphone. Yeah, that's just some guy. Now for the strangest one. I want you to guess what this noise is. If you guess tortoises having sex, what the heck is wrong with you? Yeah, you're right, it's tortoises. Moving on. For this next part, I want to talk about some movie monsters that don't get as much attention from the series The Lord of the Rings. Starting off with the Watcher in the Water, most of the noises this thing make aren't vocalizations, but rather just... which were made with plungers and wet rubber floor mats. Then when it finally opens up its gaping hole, they just... walrus. Next up, we got the Balrog. This one's actually kind of BA. They took a cinder block and dragged it on wood flooring. Sounds cool, isn't secretly weird. Nice. Next up is a particularly interesting one to me, as it's not a normal monster. The Nazgul have some really cool sound design around them. For instance, when they arrive in various scenes, the sound will just kind of get sucked out like a careless astronaut who pressed the wrong button. But who cares about that when they straight up scream bloody murder for no apparent reason? Apparently they didn't even make this sound good until they started the final mix. Yeah, they just kept going, I got time. Nobody cares about these things anyways. And kept doing that until they actually didn't have any time. Eventually they're like, oh crap, We've had 3 years to do this, and we've done nothing. What are we going to do? Then Peter Jackson was like, wanna hear my wife scream like a frickin' banshee? Alright, that'll do. And that's what they used. Very quickly, I want to talk about Star Wars. This thing is the Rancor. It stands at 14 feet tall and is voiced by a wiener dog. That's it. I think that's funny. Moving on to the Porgs, who were only added because there were too many puffins in the shooting location. The director was like, "These stupid birds! I will go to war if I have to." Sir, the last time people declared war on birds, the birds won. Fine, we'll CGI over them. Not my frickin' problem anymore. And thus, Porgs were made. Porgs' calls are made up of chickens, turkeys, and doves. Not surprising, but I wanted an excuse to tell that story. Sometimes, however, monsters will be close enough to humans that they actually have a speaking role. This adds an extra challenge as they need to sound inhuman but also be easy to understand what it's saying. You could get a voice actor or actress to talk strange, but there's only so much the human voice can do. You could throw a bunch of effects on the voice, but go overboard with it and suddenly we don't know what the thing is saying. So what they do most of the time is they throw a little bit of both on there. A really good example of this is Venom from Venom. Venom is voiced by Tom Hardy doing a gravelly voice. Audio engineer Will Files had a bunch of work to get Hollywood's third favorite Tom to go from this,
"I am Venom, and you are mine,"
to this,
"I am Venom, and you are mine."
To do this, he had to place a buttload of plugins on the voice to make it what it is. These effects range from cleaning up stuff like de-esser, noise gate, compression, and EQ, to more crazy ones like
pitch shifting,
frequency modulation, amplitude modulation, subharmonic generators, and chorus. Sometimes, however, that much work isn't necessary. In the case of General Grievous, Matthew Wood spoke in an angry Eastern European accent.
"You fool! I've been trained in your Jedi arts by Count Dooku."
use a pitch shifter,
And threw a ring modulation on it and called it a day.
You fool! I've been trained in your Jedi arts by Count Dooku.
Oh, and George Lucas got bronchitis and started coughing into a microphone. And the sound team was like, well, I guess Grievous has a cough now, and thus he had a cough. So, what did we learn today? If you like a movie Creatures Roar, look up how they made it at your own peril, because it might be animals fornicating. Anyways, I'm not Salmonella. Thank you for watching. Porgs' calls are made up of chickens, turkeys, and doves. Ugh, dubs.
Where else are you gonna find this content, bro?